Whoa. It's the illusion reporting from somewhere on spaceship Earth. I'm reporting from Monday. Oh boy. I think I've got the flu or something. Finally caught up with me. I'm gonna pop in here for a minute and just check in on a Monday, the last Monday of 2019. We just ignored our way through it. Brilliant move. A very, very brilliant move. Bethel. Whoa. Good evening from Spain. The European connection's solid this morning. What's happening, everyone? Austin, Mark, Bullcut Nation, Spot Trot. Yo, what's happening? Noah. Oklahoma's in the house. Hit that Habel, everyone hit that like button. That's right. That's right. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. It's the I thought I would tune in here on a Monday. I'm officially finally like sick. I was the last one to get the sickness. The wife, the children, they all have been sick. In fact, we're actually going to go take Alexi at the doctor today. I think he's got some strep throat. But yeah, it's like that. And I figure it's a good thing, man, to get all the sickness out of the way before the end of the year. You know what I mean? Start off 2020 spry and proper. I figure being sick the last couple of days of 2019 is like fitting. Sub from the UK from the paint sniffer, dude. Alcatel in the house. But it's really not making me feel well. Is I just had a bunch of black seed oil. I got my coffee right here. Bunch of black seed oil. If you're not hip to the black seed oil, man, you got it. But I probably should have been taking the black seed oil, but I just dropped some in on an empty stomach. So I really don't feel that well at all. Because besides my stuffiness, I actually feel okay, except for the black seed oil. Stuff's gnarly. If you're the black seed oil is the real deal, dude. Stuff will help you to live forever, Biker Benny. The 219 detox. Yeah, pretty much, man. I think that's a valid reality. I had a pretty hot experience yesterday where I knew I wasn't crazy, but people tried to convince me I was crazy yesterday. So my wife's business requires her to have like a fully up to date like phone and stuff, and hers was cracking and glitching. So she was due for an upgrade on her iPhone, and so I went and I upgraded her iPhone, and it got sent to me. It was an upgrade to an iPhone 11, right? So it got sent to me, and when the phone got here, I'm always apprehensive about the swap. It's sometimes it can be kind of complicated. So I got the new iPhone out of the box, and I had my little instruction sheet from Sprint, and it's like plug in both phones, make sure they're topped off with power, and I put the phone next to it, and the old iPhone was like, "Are you ready to transfer your data?" And I was like, "Yes." And all of a sudden it had the camera screen popped up, and it was like the new iPhone just had this like swirling like thumbprint type thing, and it was like, take a photo, put this up to that, and boom. So I did that. I put the old iPhone's camera screen up to the new swirling like thumbprint thing. Boom. It just auto fed, full data exchange, all the photos, all the apps, everything, data exchange. It was genius. So I was like, wow, man, that was super simple. I'm like, wow, that couldn't be any easier. That was like dumb easy, like short bus easy. And so I was like, because my iPhone is packed with footage and photos, and it's filled to the brim. It's literally like I got a 6, like it was a 6S. It's like packed, like, you know, to the top with music and photos. So I'm always like, whatever, man. And so I saw how easy it was to exchange all this information. So I was like, all right, I've been due for an upgrade forever. So I was like, all right, I'm going to do it. So I did my thing, but because it was a day later, the way it wasn't going to be able to ship, and it was going to get blagged because of the Christmas holiday. And I know my PO box is going to be closed and we don't have stuff shipped to the house. And so I was like, all right, I'll just pick it up at a Sprint store off in the valley. So I did that. And so me and the Minigram, we went on our mission to go pick up the phone. I get to the Sprint store and they're like, oh, it's going to be like 15 minutes while we access your account and this and that. And I'm like, what? Why? I just want to pick up my phone. They're like, no, we have to make sure the phone is working and stuff. And I go, what do you mean? I go, no, I just want to get my phone and go. They're like, and this chick was super like rude and was like, well, you can just reorder your phone then. And if blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, nah. And, because my intuition told me that if she opened it up and took it out of the package and started messing with it, it wasn't going to be as seamless as I'd had the previous day. So sure enough, but I also knew that if I gave this chick any heat at the Sprint store, I wasn't getting my phone. So I was like, I took it. I doormatted and I just sat there. And the Minigram knows me pretty well, and she knew I was pretty pinched about it. Because when the girl's like, it's going to take me 15 minutes to access your account, I'm like, what are you talking about? It's 2019. It's almost 2020. This stuff's instantaneous. Don't give me that, right? And I go, I had an appointment and everything. I go, my stuff should have already been ready. I had an appointment. She's like, it doesn't work like that. So I sit there. They screw with my phone. Whatever. Next thing you know, my phone that has all my information in it, they just shut that off. Now the new phone's working, but it's got none of my stuff in there. And I had to go to Home Depot to get something for Owl's room. And now my phones aren't working and I'm out in the, headache. So I get back to the home and there's no magic. There's no magic where the phone does the screen and there's no magic at all. And so I'm like, man. So I get on the phone with the Sprint dude, right? So I call up Sprint. He's like, no, you just got to do this and that. And none of it's working. And like none of my stuff will transfer over to my new phone. And he's like, go to this and do that and blah, blah, blah. And it's not working. And I'm like, hey, look, man, like I wouldn't even be like totally tripping on this, except I did this with the exact same models of phone yesterday. And I know, and he's like, no, it doesn't work like that. Cause I was like, look, I did it with the same phones yesterday. And I literally held the phones, I held them to each other and they did their magic. And he's like, no, it doesn't work like that. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, I've never heard of this before. And I was like, yeah, I don't back stuff up to the iCloud, dude. By the way, hey now, guys, like I don't do that. And so and even if you do, I have so much data on my phone. It like because I was on the thing and he's like, back it up to the iCloud. And I'm like, all right. And it was going to take an hour and a half to switch all my data to the iCloud, right? You're talking to a dude who had just done it with another set of phones. It took 15 minutes. Boom, boom, boom. It was no brainer. So I'm like on the phone with this guy. I'm like, no, I just did this yesterday with the same phones, different account, but same phones. And he's like, and I go, look, man, when I was at the Sprint store, I told him I didn't want him to open the box. And he's like, what do you mean? So we're like 20 minutes into this phone call, and this dude's he can't figure out how to get my phone to switch all the stuff, and it's bouncing off the iCloud. Nothing's working. And I start to explain what had happened at the Sprint store, and he's like, no, dude, that's not appropriate. He's like, I'm like, you're telling me that I could have gotten my phone and left? And they're like, yeah, it's your phone. It's not Sprint's phone. It's your phone. And I'm like, so you're telling me that girl at the Sprint store was super rude to me? I wasn't supposed to open my phone if I didn't want her to? He's like, no, dude, that's not Sprint policy. And I'm like, wait a minute, dude. So I ended up getting a rebate out of that deal. So I'm like, and I go, I knew it, man. I knew I wasn't wrong at the store. I knew that was my phone. And when the chick was trying to fully manhandle me and be like, no, we have to do it this way. Bah. And I was like, what? I really wanted to tell her to kick rocks, but I didn't. And so he's like, look, dude, just call up Apple. Just here's the number for Apple and call them up. So I called up Apple and they're like, yeah. I go, dude, is this what's going on? They're like, oh yeah, man. There's more than one way to switch your data on an iPhone. And I'm like, they're like, yeah, the people at Sprint apparently don't know anything about the products they're slinging and this and that. The Apple person was just like, psh, whatever. And they're like, they were like this, you just gotta wipe your phone clean again and start over. So I wiped my phone clean again, started over, and it took 15 minutes, just like it did the first time. But that 15 minutes, because that girl insisted on opening my box and messing with my phone, cost me 4 hours. I was like beyond annoyed, but I won in the end. But the thing that I won the most was that I'm not crazy, because I felt crazy. Because when I was talking to the girl at Sprint and she was like, no, we have to open your phone. I go, no, don't open my box. Do not unseal my box. I don't want you. I just want to get my phone and go. I got to go to Home Depot. You're jamming up my day. And then the Sprint guys were like, no. And I filed a full complaint with the Sprint people because they're like, this isn't protocol. And then when I got on the phone with Apple and they're like, the Sprint people don't know what they're talking about, I was like, I had a double win. Boom. Double win. You're not crazy. Because I'll tell you one thing that I'm sure of in 2019, switching into 2020, is the technology is not as ass backwards as the people selling it, dude. You know what I mean? Yeah, I will never, Alex Keller, I will never go to Sprint again, like in person. It blew my mind, but it's that thing where, like, again, I wouldn't have gone to Sprint except I couldn't get the thing shipped to me the way I needed it to be shipped with the logistics of my reality right now. I literally was like, all right, it's down the street. I'll just go pick it up. It's no big deal. I have to go do some other stuff over there anyhow. It was that thing where, like, and then I was like, I was held hostage. I was held hostage in the, no, I never sweat shark surfing. Well, you do every now and then. It's a sense thing. Depends on where you're surfing, man. They're out there. That's for sure. Especially when you get past Point Conception. There's definitely some sharky spots you surf. But if you really think about it, just get out of the water. That's my advice. And so yeah, it was one of those things where so anyway, so I got the thing switched out and all as well, but again, it blew my mind. And this is where I was tripping on. This is the one thing I was tripping on, right? So again, this is my proof that we don't have to be as worried about as artificial intelligence isn't there yet. And we don't have to be as worried about the technology as you think. So if we were truly worried about the technology and all that stuff, my phone would have been ready for me in the box, because the phones are charged in the box, right? And Sprint or the iPhone or whatever knows that I'm driving towards my phone with the way it works, the location stuff and the GPS and whatever. It knows I'm driving to my phone. It knows I've ordered my phone. It knows I'm driving to my phone. So if we were really like, if the technology was truly ready to enslave us, I would have picked up my phone from the store and it would have been hot, ready to go. It would have already been switching the data and the stuff, but it's not. And it probably could have been, except there's this gap where they're not ready to reveal that they have that much technology, or they just don't have, it's not that integrated yet. Because seriously, if I was running the computer system, I would have known and been like, start switching the data about 10 minutes away, right when he gets off the 101, start switching the data, and boom. But they don't. And I have another thing where I know they don't, the technology is ass backwards, is I ordered a little handheld camera. It cost nothing, just so I could do no balls, no nets again. So I've needed this camera for years, right? Years we've been talking about it on the podcast. Oh, you need to get a new camera so you can shoot no balls, no nets and all that kind of stuff. We've been talking about it into the system, right? Like we are right now. I ordered this camera, right? Because I had a bunch of miles and on one of the credit cards, so it didn't cost me anything. And I guess, that's relative, but now that I've ordered the camera, I get nothing but ads and emails trying to sell me a camera. Again, it's the thing where like, I know that we don't have to worry about the technology. Moving into 2020, like, don't have no fear. Technology isn't going to enslave us, dude. Oh yeah, sure. The dreamer. I don't think they do though. This is what I think, that the logistics and the numbers are too big without a compliant society. Like, I think the technology enslavement works in a place like China, for example, because you have a beaten down population that's terrified. I don't think that the technology of enslavement works in a place like the United States of America, because there's too many squirrely dudes like me and you guys. Like, we're too like, nah, shine. I'm not uploading my stuff to the iCloud. I'm not doing this. I'm not on Facebook, like blah, blah, blah. And to prove it, dude, how about those armed citizens in the church shutting that dude down? Bravo to them. Bravo to the armed people of Texas, man. You guys see the footage of that, dude? Those little old men, little old ladies with their guns, just like, nah, we're not even flinching, dude. What do you think the outcome of the impeachment will be? Your enslavement. That's what the outcome of the impeachment will be. Your enslavement. I'm a full. I don't know how we got off to that, dude. Oh yeah, I like how they're trying to make it like there's some big anti-Semitic wave, and most of those dudes are like that crazy Israelite guys. Oh, that shooter was so surprised that there was just armed dudes everywhere popping up in that church. You'd be crazy to pull out an armament in a Texas church in a place. What's the name? I liked how they wouldn't even refer to the white settlement. They kept outside of whatever town, dude. whatever the local city was, but it's White Settlement, Texas. So you're real brilliant. You go White Settlement, Texas to the freeway church and pull out a gun and expect to walk away, dude. It wasn't a psyop, dude. If it was a poorly planned, it was a full pro Second Amendment psyop. I mean, even the news media couldn't, even the lamestream couldn't get around showing the footage of those armed old ladies and old men just coming in hot, dude. I mean, that was the hottest. Let's keep your mouth shut listening. Some smart, Alexander Keller, everyone in Texas is strapped. Good, man. You love Trump, dude. You're a sucker. If you don't love him for entertainment value, you actually think that dude's going to save the day, dude, you're delusional. That dude's going to enslave you. No, he's going to enslave me because I have discernment. I'm telling you, dude, that guy is a full snake in the grass. He's going to get reelected, and he's going to take your Second Amendment right and stuff you into some Chinese gulag, dude. Graveler, you're probably right about that, but they all are. Too many squirrely dudes out there for sure. Maybe, or not enough squirrely dudes. I think that's the thing, man. There's not enough squirrely dudes. I think everybody's de-squirrelified themselves. And that's what I'm saying, man, with the technology and the whole thing is the squirreliness is what keeps us safe. We need fully highly unpredictable population. And some of that highly unpredictable population is lunatics, dude, with machetes, dude. I mean, let's be clear. It's the lunatic. I like that. They're not hyping that, dude. I like how they were like, oh, he came in and stabbed him with the knives. No, dude, that dude came in swinging a machete, dude. It's way different than stabbing people with knives, bro. Again, the subtleties of the propaganda machine is very, very interesting because that dude was wielding a machete, like a machete, dude. The dude didn't come at those people with a knife. That dude was swinging a machete, dude. That'll scare you. A giant black man swinging a machete in a confined space. Oh boy, dude. Talk about like testing your fight or flight mode. You know what I mean? So yeah, they ain't taking everyone's machetes, right? And that's what's funny. Most of those people where they're like, oh, it was a knife attack. It's a dude with a machete, dude. That thing on the London Bridge, a guy like a machete, dude, or sword or something. I used to have when I went to military school, I was in a cavalry unit. You know, we were on horseback. So we were in the cavalry. We carried big old sabers, dude, like sabers, dude. You wouldn't want to mess with the dude with a saber, with a fully sharpened saber, dude. Slice you in half in a heartbeat, or some like crazy samurai sword. No, thank you. You way rather take on a dude with a gun. Let me tell you. You know what they say? Charge a gun, run from a knife, man. Because that's the truth, dude. Knives are sketchier than guns. That's for sure, dude. Some lunatic with a knife in a confined space, you're done. Because that's a whole different skill set. De-arming some. I don't even know why we're talking about this on a Monday morning, dude. But whatever, dude. We're having coffee, chit-chatting. I wouldn't. Knives freak me out, dude. Someone swinging around a sketchy knife, dude. Being poked to death, yeah. So yeah, we're fired up on the thing. Eddie Murphy's making a comeback. I think 2020, we're going to see a lot of Eddie Murphy. And You need to be Jet Li. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not Jet Li, dude. All you got to do with the gun is get a hold of their wrist and bite it. Then drop it. Have you seen the kid with the giant ninja sword? He's slicing the watermelon, but he hits his pool, and the pool empties all the water out, and he has the face where he's like, "Oh, I'm in trouble now." That one cracks me up, man. Oh yeah, the funny ninja dude. So yeah, we got that going on, man. I don't know. I gotta go pick up Al from the doctor. We actually took Al to the doctor today. He's got a swollen lymph node. Gotta make sure if he's got the strap. I wouldn't allow anyone to put an apple on my head. That's for sure. And yeah, that's my mission today. Is go get the bird, go get him some medication, and confine. There's swell coming. I think there's some swell right off the beginning of the new year. So that's a plus. I'm getting fired up. I got some new books to read. I'm going to read. I realized I didn't read a book in all of 2019. 2019 is like the first year I've never read a book. I didn't read a book all year. I'd be super clear about it. I'm a believer too. So I got 2 new books. I got and again, I realized the other day that my fascination with the mid 1800s and all this stuff with the architecture and the reset kind of correlates with each other. I didn't realize they were both in the same time period, except I got this the S.C. Gwynn's new book, the Hymns of the Republic. It's about the final year of the Civil War. And S.C. Gwynn did Rebel Yell and Empire of the Sun, both books of which I've read. So I like S.C. Gwynn. He's a little bit on the dry side, but Rebel Yell was a great book. If you haven't read Rebel Yell, it's about Stonewall Jackson. And so this is about the final year of the Civil War, because it's all about the Civil War, dude. That's the riddle you need to unclog. That's why they don't talk about the Civil War anymore. And then I got Heirs of the Founders, which is about all the heirs of the founding fathers that lead up to the Civil War. So I'm going to get my mid 1800s history on, starting off the new year. Break the chains. Don't forget to tip your folks. Coffee on my dude. Thank you, Break the Chains. Don't forget to tip your talker, dude. And he was on Rogan, dude. Now I can't even read the book, man. Rogan's the worst. Wow, the Civil War is more complicated than people want to think, man. I'll tell you that. Dude. So that that some of the Civil War generals, we'll just go on a little Civil War gag here. Most of the Civil War generals all fought together in the Mexican-American War, right? So they had all fought down in Mexico City and stuff, and they had all come from West Point together. So most of the Civil War generals in the Civil War all knew each other, and really what they were all fighting about, because you had a bunch of like Civil War generals that weren't pro-slavery, that were fighting for the South. It was really a states' right thing. And you can get into like the states' right issue was about slavery and economy and stuff. But you really break it down, it's way more complicated than the whitewashed version of it all, the social justice version of the Civil War, man. And you really got to start digging into it to get to it, because there's a lot of things happening during the Civil War that fire it off that have nothing to do with with slavery, yet they all have everything to do with slavery at the same time. But it's really about economic forces and the gold in California and what was happening in the West. And at the same time, you had the stuff about the old economies versus the new, and the Chantilly South, and all of this kind of stuff. But what most people don't understand is a lot of the generals were advocating for what was called a Black Flag War, because the generals, since they all knew each other, right? All the generals knew each other, and they all knew what they were capable of. And they were all like, dude, this is a disaster coming our way, because the politicians were the ones fueling the thing. Like, your average Civil War general was like, this is a very bad idea, because they had all fought down and they had all fought in the war. And they were like, dude, this is not cool. What fuels the Civil War is just like now is politicians who had never picked up a weapon and hurt another human being. So you had the politicians and all their thing. And even the Southern politicians were like, dude, just leave us alone. This is a bad idea. And so, because the generals knew what was going on, a lot of them were advocating what was called the Black Flag Civil War. And most people think Black Flag's a band or a rodent killer. Black Flag was actually a flag that went up on the pirate ships, which said, we're going to kill everybody. We're not taking any prisoners. No quarter allowed. So if you saw a pirate ship coming your way and they were hoisting the Black Flag, that meant you better fight, man. You better fight, because they're going to kill everybody on the ship. So these generals were like, hey, man, if we're going to do this Civil War thing, let's let it be a Black Flag War. And the basic theory was of these generals was, if we do a Black Flag War, we'll get it over quicker, because nobody's going to want to like prolong a war where we kill every civilian, everybody. Like, you understand, like, they were advocating for a Black Flag War and basically scorched earth right from the get-go. Like, if we come north, we're going to kill every single human being that comes within our path, and vice versa. And the basic thing was, they didn't want to go to war, these generals. But they were like, if we're going to go to war, let's get this, let's just inflict the horrors of war right off the bat and get this over with, dude. But they didn't. They got all watered down by the politicians, and that's what really prolongs the Civil War longer than it needed to be. Because actually, if you truly understand the Civil War, if it had been a Black Flag Civil War, the North would have lost. The South was fully ready. And in fact, the South had the upper hand in the beginning, and due to just bad leadership on the North, because the North was just cocksure and just, they got smoked in the beginning. And then, the South just lost by attrition, man, basically, and some, monumental mistakes. But if you really dig into the Civil War, it's a fascinating thing. And what most people don't understand about the Civil War is your average Southern Civil War soldier was not a slave owner. In fact, had nothing to do with slavery and was potentially an indentured servant. What was going on was that the plantation owners had unfair political weight and had levied this war because they were trying to hang on to their economy. And so your average person in the South is not fighting for slavery. They're fighting for their sovereignty, essentially, because if you would actually followed the Constitution, the South should have been allowed to secede. The South should have been allowed to leave the Union, according to the Constitution. But that's what it was all about. That's what the whole thing was about. So you look at where we are. That's why they don't talk about the Civil War in modern culture, is because the same rights. You should be allowed to secede if you want. There's a way to secede, and if you're in Texas, I would secede from the Union. Texas doesn't need the United States. In fact, Texas has always been kind of bullied into the United States. Do I believe there's going to be another Civil War in the future? I believe they'd like to have one. I don't believe that they will because there's too many apathetic people. Robert E. Lee was a gnarly dude, and if you look at how stacked the Southern generals were, man, it's a miracle the North won, and the only way the North won was just overwhelming industrial might. That's all the North had. That was the difference of the two economies, man. But you look at the aftermath of the Civil War and the whole thing, you realize that ultimately the North was the biggest slave industry ever, dude. They just shipped everyone up to the factories, man. Like, and just made these slave cities up in the Rust Belt, dude. I mean, you can, and this is the one thing I always want people to realize about the whole weird thing about slavery and this and that. You can talk a lot about it, and slavery is a horrible concept, but it's still going on Spaceship Earth at this very moment. There is slavery going on this planet. So let's not get all crazy about this thing and say it's a white man's thing. It's not a white man's thing. In fact, the white men were the only people to abolish slavery, dude, if you really want to get down to it. But what you have here is a situation where at the same time they are emancipating the slaves, the same time Lincoln's emancipating the slaves, that same group of people are legalizing the genocide of the Plains Indians. And I just want that to sink in for a minute. When everyone talks about this slavery issue, at the same time they're advocating, at the same time they're emancipating the slaves, they are legalizing the genocide of the Plains Indians. All right. So when we get all into these guys, and Lincoln was such a benevolent Lincoln. All right. So if you really want to get into it, I just, the illusions off base history lessons. Lincoln did not free the slaves because he was a good dude. Lincoln freed the slaves to have an insurrection go on behind enemy lines. The whole thought behind freeing the slaves was not benevolence. The theory was that they were going to free the slaves, and it was going to cause the slaves to launch a guerrilla war behind enemy lines. That was the whole reason they freed the slaves. They didn't free the slaves because they were good guys. They freed the slaves as a war maneuver, dude, to cause chaos in the South. And so if you check out Sherman's March to the Sea, and most people don't even know about Sherman's March to the Sea anymore. You check out Sherman's March to the Sea. He gets down to, I need my map right now. He gets down to Charleston, I believe. I could be wrong. And he gets down to that coastal city in South Carolina, right? South Carolina? Sherman, yeah, South Carolina. He gets down to that coastal city down. I think it's Charleston. He gets down to the coastal city there, and the rebel forces are chasing them. Well, they're not really chasing him. They're just, he's burning his way through the South. But they're at Charleston, and I think of the general's name. Anyway, the Southern general, it wasn't Grant, it was Grant's main man. They get down there, and he wasn't he was pissed that Lincoln had emancipated the slaves because it was causing a huge burden on his supply chain. So he abandons the slaves at the freed slaves at some bridge, and they end up getting slaughtered, dude, by the BT dubs. So all these like, everyone's got this idealized version of the North being this like, oh, we're going down there to free the slaves. And they weren't going down there to free the slaves, dude. They were going down there to demand subservience by the Southern states who were seceding, dude. So the Civil War is very complicated. wearing red beard. And I would suggest that people need to dig in on the Civil War more than not, because the more you dig into it, the more of a real mess you realize that it is, and that we are still living in the aftermath of that, because the real thing that the Civil War does is shift states' rights, man. And the whole Union was made up of sovereign states, essentially under sort of a federal homogeny. Is that the right word? Did I use the word correctly? And so I can't. The more and more I dig into the Civil War, the more fascinating it is, because you have so many things going on outside of it's about slavery, because it's not. I'll just say that it is about slavery, but it's not out of slavery in the humanitarian sense of slavery. It's out of slavery. It's an argument about slavery in the economic sense. Nobody is arguing slavery, really. The abolitionists are, but the abolitionists were, again, not the main body. They were being used by the politicians of the North to facilitate their own desires. Like mostly like Frederick Douglass, and when he takes over the armory, that was a whole crazy false flag, dude. But they weren't all slave owners. That's a misnomer. Your average Southern person was just a person. Well, you could, if it's all about unfair labor practices, you could go right up to what was going on up with the unions, man. The unions were battling what was the next wave of insanity is with the corporate monopolies, man. In the Gilded Age. There always will be a 1%. Like if you get into that thing, see why I think it is why I think the study of the Civil War is relevant information is there was no escaping it. Look, it didn't matter if you were pro-Civil War or anti-Civil War, dude. You got sucked into that vacuum, dude. And that's what you have to worry about as a human being, is getting sucked into these historical vacuums, man. It didn't matter if you were, pro this or pro that. If you were sitting in China, dude, if you made it to Taiwan, dude, you got out, dude. You know what I mean? So I'm always trying to figure out where the big historical narrative waves are good, because you don't want to stick with the crowd. You want to get out early, dude. And there were plenty of people who split, man. Thank you, 8-Bit Melody. I'll be okay. The black seed's starting. The more I talk, the more that it's settling. I do have to get ready here in like 10 minutes. Less than that, actually. It never ends. Well, it's going to end. Like that. I'll tell you this is it has to end, because we as humanity have run out of time. The concept of conflict has reached its apex, dude, if you will. I mean, maybe that's what the reset's all about. I don't know. But the conflict is an invalid form of dealing with problems, dude, in today's modern society. How do you think the Hong Kong protests will ultimately end? They'll fade. It'll be a fade. And you know what's going to happen? This is what's going to happen. Unfortunately, I think the Hong Kong protests are being propped up by the United States trickery to force the Chinese into a trade deal, which ultimately works against the American population. I would say that it's this thing where what we're not watching is the one road, one belt thing. We're not watching. We're so distracted by this little dance called the impeachment. It's a scam. It's over here, dude. It's over here. What's really going on is the one belt, one road Did anyone catch the other day that the UN just turned over all of our internet rights to China like 3 days ago? That they've just given, like Obama gave our internet control to the UN, and the UN just gave it to China the other day. So no one's watching what's really going on. Is Trump's in bed with China? She and Trump are in cahoots together, dude. That's why Trump does not care about this impeachment thing. He, in fact, keeps the pot swirling, because the more Peyton, happy birthday from Booming Pixels, dude. Came my sister. Brother loves you, unless Booming Pixels is your sister. But anyway, Peyton, happy birthday. So what's going on is Trump and Xi are in it together, man. But on that note, I think I gotta go. I think the black seed oil is kicking in, and I have to go to the doctor's office and pick up the bird. I think I'm gonna homesick today, so I'm gonna do another broadcast this afternoon just for fun. I was kind of into what we were talking about, and I ran out of time, dude. So Joe, Josh, how you doing? Your tile work is beautiful, brother, by the way. I'm going to get going because I got to go run around and do stuff, but I'm going to do another broadcast here in like 3 hours, dude, because I was just getting into this thing with the Civil War and Xi and Trump and the whole thing. All right, you guys use the name tags. I'll talk to you later.